Hello again, TTRPGers and those who love Fabula Ultima. In this video, we're going to continue off the success of my last video, where we started to delve into understanding monsters and interchangeably known as NPCs in the Fabula Ultima core rulebook. And in that past video, the core things we went over was understanding what ranks were and how they attributed to difficulty of the monster. Then we went over the 8 species that existed and how they reflect a stat block of a monster. And then we went through a stat block overall and just combed through all the details on how they are mechanically built and how to understand them. But something I wanted to do in that last video that I was not able to do just because I felt like time was getting a little too long was build a monster from scratch. And today, that's what we're going to do. As in this episode of How to Fabula Ultima, we're going to build a monster, a construct monster, from scratch. Let's check it out. All right, before we get started, I just want to address out to the people that give me their views, have been subscribing to my channel, and giving awesome feedback and comments in my comment section. And the community continues to grow, and I appreciate every one of you that has any type of inquiries, have any type of comments, and it makes me happy to see just this community continue to develop and make this game more fun, even when if it's not addressing me. I'm starting to see more back and forth with people in a respectful manner, which is always awesome in the YouTube comments. But at the same time, I always wish to ask, if you like what you see, if you like the content I'm putting out, hit the likes, hit the subscribe button if you're new to this channel. It really helps me grow and get this game notoriety out here. At this point, I've had multiple people say that I'm putting out the best product as far as onboarding and giving information to help understand how this game works. And I take pride in that. And I'm going to continue to try to make production better and my delivery better as we continue to grow. So that being said, we're going to jump into what overall factors are going to come into me creating this monster. All right, we're about ready to start building our monster, but before I dive into that, I just want to give a quick explanation of the intent of my video today. At no point am I trying to make some mega TPK machine. That will be designed for another video in later videos where we start to build from the basic foundation that I'm trying to achieve. And as we go from the ground up, we'll start looking at more complexities, looking at elite monsters, looking at champions, and then even diving into the villain aspects of that make them really hard to deal with, for better words. But in that, I want to just say that I'm going to be making a level 5 monster, and it is going to be of the construct species because that's what you guys voted on over on my YouTube poll. And I did only have 4 options in that because that's all YouTube would allow in my scenario, but I will be also making another poll for another monster creation on the other 4 species to vote on soon, and we'll be building complexities off of that one. But also, I want you to understand that on the left side of the screen, I'll be referencing the core rulebook as the designing NPCs operations in sequential order. We're going to start from operations 1, go all the way down until we have successfully built the monster. Above me is the Fabula Ultima interactive NPC sheet that you can get from Fabula Ultima's website. I will put the link in here just so you can have easy access to it. So if you don't want to spend any money on trying to get anything beyond that or make your own sheet, it's basically a simple layout PDF that mimics very quickly the stat blocks we see in the core rulebook. So from that, it's pretty easy to see how quickly we can get through this. My point of my video is to be as intuitive and onboarding as possible. I want to articulate, and for people who are like me that are visual learners, I really want to show you how easy it is to build this monster, and then really your creativity is the only conflictions, just like anything else in Fabula Ultima. The rules are not hard, the mechanics are not hard, it is how much you want to inject your creativity in these creations. So without further ado, it's time to build a construct. All right, it's time to finally build our level 5 construct. And first, before we get any further into this, keep in mind, construct can be defined as a lot of things. It could be almost full autonomous robotic. You could make them just clockwork. You could make them tethered as magic to just natural elements, whatever the case. But in Fabula Ultima, when we go to this core rulebook definition of species, we go down to construct here. And once again, it says constructs are artificial beings animated by the power of souls, often crafted by alchemists, mages, or scientists. Sorry, my hand went a little all over the place in that highlight. So it's really your concept. And once again, this is where I say creativity is what gets in the way. But I'm going to just keep it simple today, because in this, we're going to just make it a clay golem. There's no need to make it anything other than that on the point of showing how this works. So we're going to go to the sheet here, and we're just going to start with a few things. When we go to the core rulebook here, I'm going to scroll down just a bit here at section 1 here. It says, think about the NPC's roles in the world and pick 4 traits that make them unique. A personality, a need or instinct, or even a specific quirk of their nature. Much like player characters' identity, theme, and origin, an NPC's traits help you portray them as a 3-dimensional being. Now, it also underlines here that villains, which is something we'll go into more depth in another video, may also invoke their traits to reroll checks. That's very similar to what players can do with their traits. But either way, we're going to go ahead and consider that. But before we do, I want to make sure, this is the one thing I've always noticed in Fabula Ultima, it seems to want to name what it is at the very end. I'm going to see if that's part of it. It doesn't look like it, so I'm going to just go ahead and say, let's name this real quick. And as I said, it's going to be a clay golem. Go over to my care sheet, and we're going to put in clay golem. And then it is level 5, and it is a construct. And for visual purposes, I found this little guy on the internet to represent our clay golem. He's going to pop up here. What's up, buddy? And he's going to basically accompany us in this development. If I'm not mistaken, this is coming from one of the Final Fantasies. I'm not sure which one off the top of my head, but I thought it was a great example for representation of what we're making. So back to what it was saying here about giving him traits and all that, I'm going to say, well, okay, what is a clay golem at heart in my brain? First off, I'm going to go with, they're probably a little bit slow. They are durable. In my circumstance, I'm going to give them a trait that they are defender. They defend to the death. And slow, durable, defend, death. Loyal. Because most constructs are manifestations from some sort of other creator. Now, in here, this is just going to be my little flavor here on the description. I'm going to go down one so it doesn't go over the description sheet here. And I'm just going to say arcane magic tethered to the ancient elements of rock and earth. And then put their resilience is only overshadowed by their power. Simple as that. You can go more if you wanted to. I'm not going to go into anything too complex with it being a level 5 construct, but it's to give you a little idea of how they're supposed to act, how you represent them possibly in a moment where they're in combat, and then the typical traits are kind of your idea platform of what they're going to do if maybe players are dungeon delving or whatever the case. But simple as that. Then we are going to look at the level, or excuse me, second section, where it says choose the NPC's level. I already did that. I jumped ahead of that to a minimum of 5 to a maximum of 60. So we're going to keep it at 5. It really doesn't matter if it's 10, 15, 20. You always want to go ahead and consider the level based on the group's level in most cases. But like I said, we're keeping it simple, all level 5. Now it says choose the NPC's species. Beast, construct, demon. We've already done that. So we're already through 1 through 3 when I just started talking. But keep in mind, that's how quick this is already going to go off without a hitch. So as we said, we could find more information about species on the upcoming pages. We've already looked at that in our past video. Then we're going to go to section 4, where it's distribute one of the following arrays among the NPC's attributes. Now, if you remember correctly, these are all the same applications towards a player character. The only one differential is super specialized, which gives them a D12, a D8, and a D6, and a D6 instead of 2 D10s and 2 D6s. So it allows a little more specialization if they really are impactful in one attribute. In this, since it's a level 5 monster, even though these chances of rolling getting more of a D12 is still a relatively higher aspect, I'm not going to do anything too brutal, so I'm going to keep it probably in specialized. I'm going to make it a D10, D10, D6, and D6 here. And we're going to apply that on the character sheet here, as I'm going to just go with Dex as a 10, because that's what reflects our physical defense in Fabula Ultima. I'm going to put a 6 in Insight, a 6, okay, another 10 in Might, and a 6 in Willpower. So we already have the foundational attributes, and remember in Fabula Ultima, this does a lot of the math going forward in the game. So going back to the sheet, we have already gone through our 4 sections. It does preface under here, upon reaching levels 20, 40, and 60, the NPCs choose one of its attributes, increase it by 1 die size to a maximum of a D12. And with that, we'll hop to the next page. Already here at 5, and let's see here. I think there's 8 options. It's all at all. Yep, 8. We have NPCs may have any number of basic attacks. These can be melee or can be ranged. Basic attacks start with the following profile: attack name, attribute plus attribute, high roll, which is HR plus 5, and then type damage. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste that and see how that translates real quick under my character sheet, or my NPC sheet under basic attacks. I'm going to hit paste, and just as part of my template here, I'm going to scroll down here just a bit so you can see more. And this is not going to be a complex monster. I'm going to maybe have 2 melee attacks. I don't even know if I'm going to give him a range, but we'll just go ahead and start with the attack name here. I'm going to like I said, I'm not trying to be anything creative. I'm just going to call it Earthened Punch. Earthened Punch. And it's going to use the attributes of Might and Might. And if my keyboard is slamming a little bit, my apologies, but I tried to muffle it. But with the high roll of 5 damage, and I'm going to just make it physical damage for now. Then I am going to do another one called let's just call it Concussion. And there's a reason why. It's called that with a basic attack for a moment, but we're going to add to that here in a minute. And that is going to be, I think, also, I'm not going to go might. I want there to be a little complexity, especially if my players are trying to diminish some of their attributes to make it more difficult for hit. I don't want might to be its all in, even though theoretically, most of it, you would think of a clay golem being this bulky, durable, strong entity. Might is the primary, but I'm going to go ahead and add Dex into this too, because it's trying to be more precise and hit them in the head and do something more effective. And I'm going to just say, for the heck of it, it's going to be Earth damage. And we're just going to keep it at that. So just for now. But we're going to go back to the sheet here, and it says the reason why I chose the might plus might and the might Dex plus might is on accuracy checks for these attacks may rely on any attributes you choose, such as insight plus willpower or might plus might, as you are free to choose whatever damage, and you are free to choose whatever damage types seem more appropriate. So really, you can do what you want. You can Dex, insight, willpower, whatever makes sense creatively for these attacks. It would probably be also not out of the question to give them a range attack as well and call it, Stone Heave or something like that. And that would be a Dex and Might capability, because you're using some sort of dexterity and the strength to throw something. Or you might be able to say it's Insight Might, where they're trying to use the ability to aim with their insight and understand the location of where they're at. It's really for you to kind of create those small little complexities that make it a little more challenging for your players to negate all their attributes at once, because they're going to try. But the reason why I said that concussion was just going to be called concussion for a reason is it does say right here, basic attacks may also be modified by skills. See below. If an NPC can equip weapons, these two will count among the creature's basic attacks. In this, we're going to go into this a little bit further. Concussion, I'm going to probably give a skill effect to it that creatively echoes off the name concussion. But just keep in mind, that's why I'm going with that. So, like I said, it's a level 5 monster. I'm not going to go anything complex. We are going to go into section 6, where we say where it says choose the NPC skills. Each NPC receives a basic number of free skills based on their species. See the next page. Plus, they gain an additional skill every 10 levels. It's level 5, so they don't have to worry about that. And they may gain a number of extra skills by taking equal number of vulnerabilities. Vulnerability to physical damage grants 2 skills. And that's sensible because physical vulnerability, almost everyone uses physical damage. So to be vulnerable in that is going to make it very easy to do damage in most aspects. But of course, if you want to make it more complex, you can. It says skills may be NPC skills, page 306, or come from character classes. Once again, complexities and creativity is what's going to define this in longer video character creation or monster creation. But we're going to go to those skills here in just a moment. What we're going to do is, though, go back to the construct sheet and see how many we get. And it says we get 2 starting skills. So I have 2 starting skills to start with this monster. And also, it's worth looking to see on the species here, and I may have overlooked that earlier. The construct's rules are immune to poison damage and resistant to earth damage and immune to being poisoned. So I need to go ahead and put that in my character sheet as well. So we're going to go to that. And first off, RS to earth damage. Immune to poison damage. And down here, for now at least, I'm going to scroll down to special. This may not be the place where you want to put it, but I'm going to notate immune to poisoned. That's a condition that can be applied by other players. So we know that exists. But as I said, we're going to go then look at the skills here to see what we can start doing with this monster. All right, we're going to start delving into the NPC skills. But before I get started, I want you to just understand, I am not going through the entire list of skills. If you are wanting to indulge your curiosity about what options there are, pick up your core rulebook, and it's on page 306, and you can really start seeing what unique characteristics and skills you can put into these monsters. That's also not including the fact that it says you can use the character classes skills as well and really start building unique things. But if you haven't picked up the core rulebook yet and you're interested in what I've been explaining in this video and videos past, I implore you to get this book. It is a fantastic book. It's a fun game to learn. It'd definitely be something that should be on your shelves, if not a constant pull off the shelf. It's mine by far. It has gotten rid of D&D and pretty much all my aspects and any other games I play. I really focus on this one, despite enjoying some other TTRPGs. But also, it supports a fantastic publisher group in Neat Games and an even more fantastic creator in Emanuel Galetto, who, from what I've understood since the concept of Fabula Ultima, they have gone through Reddit to help people understand the rules, as it was just, small PDFs and printouts and just building up into what it is today. I have friends at conventions at Gen Con that have met them before. They've always been super nice, and I've got multiple signed copies of stuff from them that my friends got for me. They are always about promoting this book or these games and making it adapt to fun as the masses grow interest in this. So once again, pick up the core rulebook. You can get it you can get the PDF at DriveThruRPG. It will be probably redirected from Fabula Ultima's website if you just go through there. This is not an endorsement by me. If you're watching these videos, you know I'm doing this exclusively to enjoy this game. I'm not being endorsed by Fabula Ultima or anything like that. This is just a simple person just glorifying a wonderful game. But that being said, here's where we go into NPC skills. So under here, it says what follows is a list of common NPC skills. You are encouraged to create your own custom skills and use these as a guideline. This is very important to understand that creativity is everything. I've said it plenty of times in this video and videos of past, so it really leaves you open-ended to achieve what you're looking to do. Then it says, remember that your goal when designing a non-playable character is to provide a memorable encounter and an interesting challenge. Keep the PC strengths and the weaknesses in mind, and make sure to create synergies between the NPC's attacks and abilities. And I am struggling with this highlighting, so my apologies on that. But it also says each skill can be taken more than once, with the exceptions of the skills marked as limited. That said, you are encouraged to go for a variety whenever possible. So once again, build as you want, build how you want, and there's still mechanical limitations if it feels that it's too powerful in what you're trying to do. Now, we're going to go back to the character sheet here because, like I said, as a construct, I have 2 skills to distribute in making this monster a little more unique. And this is where we go back to Earth and Punch. I went ahead and changed the damage to Earth because it only made sense. It was called Earth and Punch, do Earth damage. And then I took the other basic attack called Concussion. Now, what I'm going to make this unique about this is I'm going to go into the skills. And we're going to find it under, let's see here, I believe it is called special attacks. So you'll see down here, there is a list of special attacks that we can go through. I'm not going to go through all of them. It'll, like, for example, this target attacks magic defense instead of defense. That's really cool. But the one I'm focusing on is the target suffers a status effect. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to spend my first of 2 skill points to make it where the basic attack, Concussion, now has the target suffers a status effect. We choose what that is going to be. It makes sense to me if, however, it gives a concussion to bonk someone on the head and they're successful in hitting it, it's going to get the dazed affliction or status effect, whatever you want to call it. And what that does is it brings the the attribute of insight down by 1 dice size. So if someone like that might be more of a caster that has a D10 or D8, you would see that D10 diminish to a D8 or that D8 diminish to a D6. It's also worth noting when it comes to status effects that will give afflictions and diminish your die size, you cannot go any lower than 6. So if they're at 6 already, it does nothing. But that's going to be the intent. I've now used that 1 skill point to make it where the concussion attack, also on successive hit doing damage, it makes the target suffer dazed. Awesome. So I have 1 more skill to go to, and I think what I'm going to consider here is it's not going to be any more special attacks or anything like that. I don't really care about it having a little higher initiative. There's also discussion there's a variant initiative order where a lot of people were talking about that in my last video, where they make it where the good guys, your party, always starts first in combat, unless it's a villain. Then the villain gets to go first. I actually suggested that to my group this week, and they didn't like that. And it cracks me up because there's a lot of people that go, I like the simplicity of it, and that's great if it works for the game. But my group really likes contributing to their roles and making it seem like they're mattering in some effect. So I'm not here to debate the philosophy. Make it the choice of what your players and you want collectively. But that's what they're choosing, and we're going to keep going with that. But either way, if I was going to maintain that build where they're going against an initiative difficulty, I might consider building the initiative up using a skill point. But I think because this guy's a more resilient golem, a manifestation of Earth, I'm going to make it where the probably defense is going to be improved. Now, I already know that they have some resistances and immunities to resistance to Earth, immunity to poison, and the poisoned affliction. So I'm not worried about resistances. We're going to go with a straight defense. So we're going to go up to, I'm sure we have here. Yeah, I don't want damage and immunity. Don't want damage absorption. That'd be cool for certain other monsters, but Improve damage, improve defenses. That's what we're looking at right here. So for a skill point, your NPC gains a +2 bonus to defense and a +1 bonus to magic defense. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and put it over. I'm going to just put this under my special for here. This is just so I know. I like to know how the maths, and if I can't see it, it's a little annoying to me. So I'm just going to put it down here. Even though special can mean special abilities and stuff, I'm just putting this up here for my own reference. So it says NPC gains a +2 bonus to defense and a +1 to magic defense. So I'm going to go up to the character sheet. And right now I'm just going to put a +2 and a +1 just for reference, and you'll see why. So that's it as far as applying skills to make your monster a little more impactful. As I said, you could go ahead and take a vulnerability into something and get another skill. I'm not worried about that. We'll worry about doing that when we want to make a more complex monster, but you do have that option. Just remember, if you give yourself 1 vulnerability, you get 1 skill point, and if you give a vulnerability in physical, you get 2 skill points. That being said, we're going to get through this on the skills, and we're going to continue down the character creation. All right, we're going by here pretty quick on building the monster. As always, I take more time explaining to you than I do building, and you'll see how quickly it is actually to complete this. We're in the final stretch here, as we have only sections 7 and 8. Now, 7 has some bulk to it on what we want to do in its entirety here, but it'll go by pretty quick. So it says calculate the NPC's secondary scores. We're going to start with initiative. So it says initiative is equal to the base dexterity die size plus its base insight die size, then divided by 2. And it says remember to apply penalties due to armor. It's not wearing armor, so we don't have to worry about that. So first we're going to do the math of the dexterity die size and the base insight die size, which if we look at the character sheet, its dex is 10, insight is 6, and so we have a 16 divided by 2, which makes it 8. So we're just going to put it up here. It's an initiative of 8. Then we go over to the next, which is maximum HP, which is equal to twice the NPC's level plus 5 times the NPC's base might size. So highlight that. And so, yeah, pretty simple. Maximum HP is twice the NPC's level, which is 5. So times 2, or with double that, is 10. So we've got the variable of 10 plus 5 times the NPC's base might die. Well, its might size is a 10, I believe. Yes, it's a 10. So times 5 is 50. So we take the 10 plus 50, and we have an HP of 60. Now, this little star to the right here is an indication of crisis mode. Crisis is when you hit half hit points of the monster. When that happens, you do let the players know it has reached crisis, and there is certain effects. If we went back at the skill sheet or skill options, you may have seen that when I was scrolling through. There is crisis effects where maybe detrimental to the character or the monster, or it might give them some significant empowerment if it gets to that level where like it's going into survival mode, if you will. Then we go back to the next option in section 7, where I talked about the crisis score. Then we calculate maximum MP, which is equal to the NPC's level, which is 5. So we don't even have to do math there. It's just 5 plus 5 times the NPC's base willpower die size. So we're going to look at that, and it is, if I remember correctly, 6. So yes, it's 6 times 5, which is 30, plus its level, which is 5, so that's 35. Now, you'll notice in here, this monster doesn't have really anything to expend NP. You would do that for possible spells if we gave him spells and that's needed, or there might be some special abilities or skills that you put in that would make sense to have some sort of expenditure of your mind points. You really want to, like I said, you want to possibly be able to give all of its resources, its affinities, have some sort of effect or impact for the players to manipulate or be challenged by. So just keep that in mind if you ever start making a lot of abilities and stuff that aren't spells. Give it some MP applications. And I believe some skills may actually suggest that as well. But as I said, I'm not here to go through every skill. check it out starting on page 306. So we go back to, I think, the final bit of section 7. Nope, there's 2 more. Defense equals to the NPC's current dex size. So dexterity size is, I believe, a 10. So yes, so dex is 10. So I'm going to go ahead and put 10 plus 2. Oh, I spaced that too much. And this is why I'm not the biggest fan of the character sheet here, because of just the way I like to keep track of things. I'm going to go ahead and just put +2, because we know the dex is equal to defense is equal to dex, and there's that +2 we got from improved defense. So it would have a defense of 12. I'm going to put that on here where it says the NPC gains +2 bonus defense and +1 magic defense. I'm going to put down here hit caps lock. Defense is 12, and then also we're going to calculate its magic defense as well down below here, which is its current insight die size. Going to that, we're going to double check, which once again is 6. So it's going to be 6 + 1. So its magic defense is a 7, which makes it pretty susceptible to spells, which would be a great thing to attack if you have that option, which also makes sense why giving them the concussion ability would want to hinder the impact of spell-based accuracy checks or magic checks, because a lot of them are through willpower and insight. So that should be the end of section 7. And we're going to just jump down to section 8 here, where it says NPCs gain a bonus of accuracy checks and magic checks equal to their level, divided by 10 and rounded down to a minimum of 0. So at this point, accuracy check equal to their level divided by 10, well, rounded down to a minimum of 0. So right now, being level 5, there's that equation doesn't offer them anything. 5 divided by 10 is less than 1, and it rounds down to a minimum of 0. So once you hit 10 with a monster and apply this, you would get the 1. So at this moment, there's no applications to that. And it does say, furthermore, all NPCs that are level 20 or higher deal 5 extra damage with their attacks and spells. This bonus increases to 10 extra damage for NPC levels 40 or higher, and then 15 extra damage for NPCs at level 60. So we're going to go ahead and just double check here, see if there's anything else. I'm going to drop down to the next sheet. Nope, that goes into the skills. And we're done with creating this monster. As always, the complexities and the length of my videos are always based upon my explanations. But as you can see, if we go quickly through, I made the name of the monster, the clay golem. It was level 5 construct. Right here, I gave a description that kind of gave him a little unique flair and flavor to the monster. I put in some typical traits that would explain what the monster is. We went to the attributes. They're made sure the resistance and immunities are applied. I gave him basic attacks. One basic attack that took one of the skills to give it a dazed affliction on the successive hit. And then the other skill point, I gave improved defense to give +2 to its defense and +1 to its magic defense. And you can see, as far as this is lined up, at least the pluses here, I put line up here. So if I was cheating with the character sheet, I would just kind of look at Dex as my defense, Insight's my my magic defense, and then look at the modifiers here. But I will probably, going forward in other videos, go back to my Foundry VTT, because it's a little more free-flowing. I like using that more, and I think it's a little more fun to play with. But at the same time, I wanted to put this out. If you don't have any investment in Foundry VTT, or I just recently saw that they have Alchemy, the virtual tabletop, has Fabula Ultima on it, and it has now got the core rulebook injected. I do believe that was one of the rewards for the Kickstarter, if you did kickstart to a certain level. But so if you're not sure about Foundry and you want to try to do something else that has at least some injected support from Fabula Ultima, try Alchemy. I'll probably look at that in another video as well. But that being said, we're done creating our monster, and hopefully it was very intuitive and understanding. And don't worry, I'm going to be making some more videos that reflect on this type of build, and we're going to build off of it and start making more monsters. I'll see you at the outro. All right, we just finished building our level 5 construct monster, the clay golem, and I had fun doing it. And I hope in my process it was intuitive for you to understand if you are new to the rules or just need a little bit of recap and rehash of understanding it. I always try to aim to be articulate and make sure that you are coming out of this video with a little more clarity. Um, I'm going to do another video here as my next option, as we're going to be building an elite, and I'll probably do a separate video with a champion as well, because I really want to keep these partitioned in their ranks so they have their own references instead of being convoluted together. That being said, we're going to have another poll being posted out after I put this video that is going to give you an option on voting the extra 4 species that were not in the original poll I did that made this video. And that is going to be the humanoid, monster, plant, and undead. So I'm going to have that poll out here shortly. So please give a vote. If you don't have my notifications turned on, go ahead and give them a ring. It'll let you know when any new videos come out. And on top of that, when I post these type of polls, I'm loving seeing the community grow, having their output put in, and seeing what we can work together in making. So please, if you haven't subscribed and you're new to the channel, I thank you for your subscriptions. For those who have already given me so much of their time, I thank you infinitely. I continue to be overwhelmed with excitement seeing there's people that enjoy this game as much as I do, hearing their stories and their experiences. And I implore you, anytime you have an opportunity, message me, put in the comments of your experiences. Now, until the next video, I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good night. And I hope you get a chance to play some Fabula Ultima. I'll see you next time.